One call won't save you. The officer's voice slithered out, low, smug, and dripping with an arrogance that felt suffocating for a man who had just wrongfully cuffed a woman in the bustling heart of a busy cafe. His partner loomed at the entrance, arms crossed, a cruel smirk playing on his lips as if this were all a twisted game. Customers froze mid-bite, their forks hovering, phones trembling in their hands as they recorded the unfolding drama. At the center of it all, she sat, hands bound behind her back, her calm gaze piercing the officer's face like a blade. No tears welled in her eyes. No screams escaped her lips. She simply spoke, her voice slow, clear, and laced with an unshakable resolve. One call ends you. 30 minutes earlier, she had entered the coffee shop with the quiet confidence of a high-end professional. Sharp heels clicking against the floor, a crisp blouse hugging her frame, and a presence that turned heads with an almost magnetic pull. Some whispered she might be a model. Others felt a flicker of recognition, but none dared guess the truth. She ordered a simple latte, settled near the window, and opened her laptop, her demeanor serene yet commanding. Then trouble stormed in. Two officers, a photo on their phone in hand, tracking a woman suspected of identity fraud, known to frequent upscale spots, dressed in similar attire. Their eyes locked onto her. Without a second glance at her ID, without a single question, they moved in. "Ma'am, we're going to need you to come with us," the lead officer barked. She looked up, stunned but composed, her heart skipping a beat. "I think you have the wrong person," she said, her voice steady despite the tremor of disbelief. The officer's lips curled into a sarcastic sneer. "Sure we do. That's what they all say." Before she could rise, he yanked her up, twisting her arms behind her back with a roughness that drew gasps from the crowd. "You're making a huge mistake," she warned, her tone a quiet plea. But they were deaf to it, already reciting her rights as the cuffs clicked shut. For a moment, she let them, the cold metal biting into her wrists. Every camera capturing her face, a portrait of poise, beauty, and an unspoken strength that left the room breathless. Then, with a calm that silenced the chaos, she asked, "May I make one phone call?" The officer rolled his eyes, thrusting a phone into her hands with a scoff. She dialed, and after one ring, her voice softened with a tender edge. "Hi, sweetheart." A pause, then, "They don't know who I am. You might want to fix that." She handed the phone back, a faint smile tugging at her lips, her eyes gleaming with quiet PowerPoint. 10 minutes later, the cafe trembled as three black SUVs screeched to a halt outside. Men in suits poured in, earpieces buzzing, badges gleaming with authority that made even the officer stiffen. "Step away from a woman, now," a tall agent commanded, his voice a thunderclap. The lead officer hesitated, his smugness crumbling, his voice cracking. "What's going on?" The agent shoved a document into his chest, growling, "You just detained a first lady of the state." The cuffs hit the floor with a clatter that echoed like a gunshot, and a suffocating silence enveloped the room. She rose, rubbing her wrists with a grace that belied the ordeal, then turned to the officer who had mocked her moments ago. "You didn't ask for ID. You didn't check facts. You saw a pretty face and made a dumb assumption, and that ends careers." Without a backward glance, she walked out, her husband, the governor, waiting by the SUV, his eyes blazing with a protective fury. The officers weren't just suspended. They faced a grueling investigation for misconduct, excessive force, and public endangerment. Within weeks, both were stripped of their duties. The department issued a formal apology, its words heavy with regret, while the cafe staff framed a photo of her at that very table, a plaque beneath it reading, "Grace under pressure." Yet, what no one knew then was that this wasn't her first brush with being underestimated. Years ago, she'd been a formidable federal prosecutor, before that an intelligence officer overseas, sacrificing it all to support her husband's rise to office, never seeking the spotlight. But in that cafe, when two men mistook her beauty for vulnerability, she reminded the world that silence isn't weakness. It's a calculated strategy. The video went viral, the headline blazing, "Wrong woman, right call." Millions watched her handle the chaos with unshakable poise while the officers crumbled under their error. Women across the country hailed her as a role model, their voices thick with admiration, while men respected her restraint, their awe palpable. The governor, moved by her strength, overhauled statewide training policies on civilian encounters in her honor. She never spoke publicly about it, but insiders whisper that her husband keeps a photo from that day on his desk, not as a scandal, but as a testament to the woman he married, one who could shatter careers with a single call, but chose dignity instead of SO. Don't mistake grace for weakness. Sometimes the most powerful soul in a room is the one doubted until it's too late. Before we close this tale, let us know in the comments where you're watching from. If it touched your heart, subscribe to the channel, hit that like button, and drop a comment below.